Hello viewers, welcome back. Today's session is going to be part of our Tally basics. So this session is basically for those beginners who are just getting introduced to Tally. So if you remember in our previous session on Tally basics playlist, we had understood the user defined voucher type creation also. And in that session, I had mentioned that we will quickly see how are we going to pass the transaction in Tally. So this is basically is going to be our accounts only company where we are now understood that how apart from the default voucher type that Tally provides, the user can also create their own user defined vouchers. So now we will take each of the voucher and then we will see how are we going to pass the transaction. Like I mentioned, it is going to be helpful for the beginners. Okay? And here in this session, basically we will see how a simple accounting transaction that you are going to capture, that is basically from an accounting fundamental point of view. You debit an account, credit an account. Okay, that's basically a simple voucher entry or simple journal that you're going to capture. We will also see the how Tally supports compound entries also. So that is what we are going to quickly see. So let me just share my screen. Okay, we will see accounting transactions. So I have captured few transactions here. So basically for us to understand how one receipt entry is made, one payment entry, one contra entry, purchase, sales, and journal entry. For us to understand under what circumstances we are going to use what voucher type. Okay, so these are these sample transactions. What I would also do is that I will take an image of this and I will also share to all of you. You can see this transactions in the description box, so that if you want to practice, you can use these transactions for practice purpose. So the first transaction is receipt entry, where it says Mr. Ganesh, the owner, invested rupees 1 lakh by check into business, and the check was deposited in SBI current account. So basically, this is an introduction of capital into the newly started business, right? So I will start with Tally Prime, and the experience of capturing the voucher in Tally Prime and in Tally.ERP is going to be the same thing, except that, what are the slight changes that has happened, we will see there, right? So first, let me start with the Tally Prime, right? So now this is my Tally Prime. This is an accounts only company. We have just created the company, so we know how to create a company and specify all the requirements, right? So now, and we have also learned how to create a master. And also in one of my session, I had mentioned that you can create the master on the fly from inside the voucher also. So that way, if you see, Tally Prime is so flexible that from anywhere in Tally Prime, you can do any activity. That is, basically you can see another report, you can create a master, you can create a voucher, and that's the USP of Tally Prime. So how do you do that is basically just recall that go to is like the Google of Tally, where you can go to and then do anything that you want from any screen in Tally. It's not necessary that like you have to be at the gateway of Tally, or you have to be in a particular master for creating a master and various other things. Okay, so now to pass this transaction, so I'm going to go into voucher entry. I go to vouchers, and when I go to vouchers here, by default, Tally is going to, if it is for the first time, then Tally is going to bring you the payment voucher. Or if you have already saved a particular voucher type, so when you next time when you go into voucher creation mode, Tally is going to actually give you that particular voucher type. And now we know that we had discussed that two very important secret is your right hand side button bar, F12 configuration, and in case of Tally Prime, we know that you use the third secret, which is your go-to, right? So now, by default, you are seeing the receipt voucher being displayed. So the first entry that we are supposed to do is also a receipt voucher, right? So where Ganesh is introducing 1 lakh towards capital. And also in during my voucher type, when I was discussing in my previous session, I had also shown that how you can use a receipt, payment, and contra entry in a single entry mode. So if you just recall, single entry mode is basically very helpful for users who are from non-accounting background. Like for example here, it just simply says there is no there is no debit credit, right? So it simply says receipt. Now the account basically I had discussed, and also you will notice here that it just gives you the list of all those ledgers created under your cash cash in hand group and group, bank OD or bank account group, right? So Mr. Ganesh is introducing capital into the business, which is eventually deposited into the SBI current account of the company which the company is opened. So I'm going to select my State Bank of India, and then now it says, okay, from whom are you receiving money? On account of what you are receiving money. That's how you interpret it. It says particulars. So now I have the Ganesh is the proprietor who is introducing the capital. So let me select Ganesh. Now here, if you notice, Ganesh is the account is not created. So what I'm going to do is that one, you have this create button. So you can click here create, or the keyboard shortcut. We had discussed about various keyboard shortcuts. So I can press Alt C, and then it takes me to Ledger Master creation. So I'm going to say Ganesh capital account, enter. So this is going to be under capital account, right? So nothing else needs to be captured here. So I'm going to press Control A. So now the moment I create a new ledger on the fly from inside the voucher, it will automatically populate the created ledger also in your voucher. So you see that now Ganesh capital account is already selected. So you're going to enter the amount 1 lakh, and then okay, this is basically your bank detail. We will discuss this when we get into the banking part. You just currently just accept. So we will go step by step, right? So here, basically, you have to enter the narration, and especially for the beginners or the freshers who are watching this video, please make sure that when you are working and when you are capturing uh, any transaction in Tally for your own company or for the company where you are working, please make it a point to capture the narration, right? So all those information, because the narration is really going to help you to recall at a later stage the purpose of this particular transaction. So it gives you information about why this particular transaction is made, what is the reason. So you get all this information in narration. So maximum try to give enough information so that at any point in time, whether for you to recollect the instance of this transaction, or for any stakeholder to know why this particular transaction is passed, right? So capital, basically I'm going to say capital introduced. Okay. So now I'm going to save this, except now if I want to recall, now I have passed this entry. Let's say that you want to just cross verify that whether you have captured it right. Then you have this again a keyboard shortcut, where if you want to recall your previously saved voucher, all you need to do is just press page up. Tally is going to bring your previously saved voucher. You can verify this. So this is basically, if you see, we have captured this transaction in single entry mode, right? So if you want to see in double entry mode, where we saw the debit and credit from the understanding of our learning of the accounting fundamental, very simple. Now this is where basically, like, you have slight difference in your user experience from Tally Prime to Tally.ERP. So in Tally Prime, if you want to convert this into a single entry mode, then what you do is that you have this button called change mode, right? So you click here. When you click here, Tally is asking you whether you want this particular voucher type to be captured in single entry mode or in double entry mode. So we saw now what we captured now is basically a single entry mode. So now you go there, and the best part, if you see here, you once you I mean, you can toggle between single entry mode and double entry mode. You can very easily toggle even after you have captured the transaction. And Tally is so intelligent enough that it will know that irrespective of whether you have because we in the single entry mode, we noticed that we did not use debit or credit. But when you come to double entry mode, the same transaction that we passed, if you see now, you will see that Ganesh account is credited, right? So just recall our fundamentals of accounting, the golden rule, right? Credit the giver, right? So capital is being introduced by the person, Mr. Ganesh. So I'm crediting him, and the money is coming into the bank. So debit what comes into the company, debit what comes in, which is the golden rule of a real account. And Ganesh is a personal account, so credit the giver, right? So this is one aspect. Now, the other aspect, again, if you recall, in one of my previous, during those voucher, when we were discussing about the voucher type, I had also mentioned that if people are not comfortable with debit credit, some of them are comfortable with buy to, right? So if you feel that you are comfortable with buy to, then can I just remove this credit debit, instead can I have buy to for my easy capturing of my proper transaction? Yes, it is possible in Tally. So again, remember your secret number two. So all you need to do is just press F12 configuration, and you will notice here the first option which says, okay, use credit debit instead of to and buy during the voucher entry. Now, because this option is made yes, you are seeing the debit credit symbol. Now, if I make this as no and enter and press Control A, you will see now automatically again you will see the credit is replaced with to and debit is replaced with buy, right? So whichever way you are comfortable, you can do it. So two method of capturing payment receipt and contra entry: single entry mode, double entry mode, right? And the symbol for debiting crediting, you have your normal debit credit. If you are not comfortable with it, you can move to two and buy also. So I can come back here again. I can say yes, I want debit credit because I'm comfortable with debit credit, so I'm going to come here, right? Now this is already saved voucher, so you don't have to really save this again. So you just come to page down, and then now it is now come to this next voucher. Okay, that's what basically you will see here. The receipt voucher 1 is already saved, and now this has gone into receipt voucher 2, right? Now let's see the second transaction. My second transaction is purchase of stationery worth 2000 for office use from Mrs. Omega Stationery by check. All right. So I'm going to pass this transaction. So now I'm going to make a payment entry. Right. So I'm going to press F5 for payment. right? So since user defined, I have created bank payment and cash payment separately as part of my user defined voucher type. I want to segregate my payment between cash payment and bank payment. If you see, my second transaction is I'm purchasing stationery worth 2000 rupees for office use, okay, from Omega Stationery, but I'm making a payment immediately, right? So which means literally, even though the Omega Stationery is specified there, it is not relevant as far as this particular transaction is concerned. So this is only an information. So how am I going to pass this transaction? Let us see this carefully. And this example, we have used this in our fundamentals of accounting also, if you can recall, right? So I'm going to go to bank payment, right? And here, let us say I want to convert this into double entry mode. So I'm going to go to change mode, and I'm going to select double entry. And so now this bank payment, the voucher type is giving number one, right? So I come here, then I'm going to debit. I'm purchasing stationery. Now printing and stationery is what is a nominal account. Debit all expenses. So I'm going to type printing and stationery. Now, if the ledger is not there, we know that it is very easy, simple to create on the fly. I press Alt C, then I'm going to say printing and stationery, right? So this is going to be part of my indirect expenses, right? So nothing else need to be done. So I'm going to press Control A, and I'm going to say 2000 and credit. I'm going to enter credit, and I'm going to now credit my bank account. I need not have to credit Omega Stationery, because the relevance of Omega Stationery is not there, since I am not buying the stationery on credit. If I had purchased this on credit, then I need to credit Omega Stationery. One, Omega Stationery is a personal account, right? So credit the giver. So he is the one who's giving material to you. And why are we capturing this party's ledger? Is because at a later point in time, you have to make the payment of this 2000 rupees to Omega Stationeries. That is why, or if it is a credit purchase, then you need to credit the supplier account for you to keep track of the amount that needs to be paid to your suppliers at a later point in time, right? So in this example, we are just issuing a check straight away. So now I'm issuing a check, so that means money is going out of my bank real account and credit what goes out. So I'm going to credit my bank account to State Bank of India. So I'm going to credit State Bank of India. And like for example, if you see, every time I have to create type is State Bank of India and all those things. Now this is where you have another very nice feature in Tally. Like for example, let us say I am going to now press Control Enter. I'm going to press Control Enter and see what happens. It takes me to the ledger alteration screen. And now here, just below the name, there is alias. What is this alias? Alias is basically alternate name that you can give for this particular ledger, right? You can have multiple aliases. So how do you make use of this alias? One, you can use this as code, because few companies even now, they have coding for different ledgers. So in that case, you can use the code. I'm also going to use a numeric alias here. So basically, in my company, if you see, majority of the time, whenever I'm going to make a payment in my company, I'm going to make a payment through bank only. Very rarely I'm going to make a cash payment. So instead of every time me typing State Bank of India or STAT and then selecting, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give an alias for the State Bank of India as one. So that means, first, whenever I make a payment, when I press one, I want the State Bank of India to be selected. Okay, so I've given this, and I'm going to press Control A, right? So now let me just come back. Go. and then come back to voucher entry screen. You will be in the bank payment screen because that was your last recalled voucher type, right? So now I'm going to change this to double entry mode, right? So I'm going to debit my, we have already created the printing and stationery ledger. Even though I have not saved the voucher, since we have created and saved this ledger called printing and stationery, that will remain. Only thing is we halfway through, we went out of the payment voucher. So this, I'm going to select this and I'm going to enter 2000, enter. And now on the credit side, I don't have to type State Bank of India. And by default, if you see, whenever there is a list of master that is getting listed, the cursor is always going to be on the first master, right? So here, if you see, we had created an alias as one for my State Bank of India, right? So you don't even have to type one because the cursor is already there in one. Just press enter and you will see that State Bank of India is selected, right? So I'm going to come here, okay, and for the time being, if you people, uh, let me just, in the banking thing, you will see there is this option, uh, use a default bank allocation. For the time being, what you do is, if you, when you are trying to practice in Tally.ERP or in TallyPrime, and when this banking subscreen is popping out, right? So you don't know what to do with it. So we will learn at a later point in time. So what you're going to do is that you will say use default for bank allocation and press Control A, and now that banking screen, the subscreen of the bank allocation is not going to come. So this is where, remember your secret number 1 and 2. You can do wonders with your right hand side button bar, especially in Tally ERP. You have right hand side button bar and also you have bottom button bar. In Prime, you have only right hand side button bar, right? So, and F12 configuration, that is very, very critical and very important, right? So now I'll say purchase of stationery from uh, measures Omega Stationeries. So this way, what happens when we go into the next levels of understanding of Tally, we will also see the magic of Tally, that how you can recall some information that you have entered in your narration. Also, we will see how we can recall that. So basically, that is why I said narration is very important for you to, recall a particular transaction also. And when you are in a particular transaction, after some point in time, for you to understand and know what is the reason for this particular transaction, your narration is going to help you. Okay, so I've done this, save. Okay, so my second transaction is also saved. Okay, then I'm going to come into Contra, where I'm going to say cash withdrawal from bank for office use. So I'm going to come to Contra Voucher, right? And then I'm going to press here. If you see F4 Contra, and it goes into the Contra mode. So again, using our golden rule, we know that money is going out of the bank. So now again, I don't have to just type anything anymore. Whenever I want to use my bank account, I just press enter. I don't even have to type one. So it becomes much, much easier. This way, you can have alias created for various ledgers. Generally, you create an alias through any kind of recollect. It could be an abbreviation, it could be a numeric value, which will help you to quickly select that particular ledger. And oftenly used ledger, you can specify the alias. Okay. So State Bank of India, basically I have withdrawn 5,000 rupees from the bank. Okay, and then I'm going to debit my cash account. So I'm going to come to cash account, and then I'm going to, and then I'll say cash withdrawn from bank or office use. Okay, save this voucher. Okay, then we will go to the next one, which is purchase voucher. So here, since we have only understood the accounting aspect of it, so we will pass this purchase voucher in a voucher mode. All right. So I'm buying goods worth 50,000 rupees from super traders on credit. So here it is very important for me to credit my supplier because he is the person who's giving me goods, and at a later point in time I am supposed to make payment to this person. Right. So let's just pass this transaction. So I'm going to go into my purchase. I'm going to press F9, and here in Tally Prime, by default, your purchase and sale voucher will be in the invoice mode, even though you would have not enabled the inventory features in Tally. Right. So if you notice here, when I press F11, which is where I'm going to do the features, I have mentioned that I don't want inventory here in this company because we have still not understood the inventory aspect of it. Very soon we will move into the inventory fundamentals also. So I've said no, I don't want inventory here, right? So but still, if you see, it is going to be in the it is going to be in the invoice mode. But in Tally ERP, when you don't enable inventory, okay, and then if you say I don't want invoice mode, then it by default it is going to be in your voucher entry mode. Now how do I convert this into voucher entry, because we have not learned how to capture this in the invoice mode. So again, I'm going to come here on the right hand side button bar where there is this change mode. I'm going to press Control H for change mode. Control H, and here see you have this accounting voucher and the as voucher. So I'm going to select as voucher, which is where we are comfortable, credit, debit. Okay. So you will enter the supplier invoice number, whatever is the supplier invoice number. So maybe you can just say 009 as the supplier invoice number. The date will automatically take the voucher date. And this is very important when we start understanding the GST transaction. So I'm going to credit here. So I have to credit whom? I have to credit super traders, right? So SUP. So obviously it is not there. I'm going to press Alt C. Then I'm going to say super traders, right? This is my sundry creditors, right? So again, we have not discussed about this bill wise detail. Don't worry, just accept this. Okay. So any new screen that you are seeing, just accept. We will discuss this as we move forward. Right. So I'm going to now credit. I purchased how much? 50,000 rupees worth of goods. Right. 50,000. And we had seen this how Tally has got the intelligence in filtering the voucher. So now it is asking me. It is showing me only my one ledger, which is my purchase ledger. Right. And then I'm going to may enter my narration purchases from so and so so and so. You can enter the narration, right? So that's about your purchase voucher. And next, let us see what is the next voucher. The next voucher type is my sales voucher. Again, it is going to be the same simple thing. So let's quickly pass this transaction. Now I'm going to need to pass a sales voucher. So I'm going to press F8, right? And then now I had created two user type voucher type under sales. One is sales one and sales local. But then I'll say I don't want to use sales local. I want to use my default tallies voucher type, which is my sales. So here again, I don't know the inventory mode. So you come here and then say change mode, and you say as voucher, and now it is asking you debit. So I have sold goods to India Mart, right? So I type IND. So the it is not there. I'm going to press Alt C, India Mart, enter, and this is going to be my sundry debtors, right? So it is just down there. Just use the easiest way, either type or you use the arrow key to quickly select your required group. So I'm going to press Control A here. Don't worry about this, right? So now it's going to be 75,000, enter. And my under my sales I have two ledgers, so this is going to be part of my sales. I'm going to select sales, and then I'm going to say sales made to blah blah. Right? I've done this. Okay. So now, what is the next one? So we made a receipt entry, payment entry, contra entry, purchase, sale, and now the journal entry. So if you recall, in during our voucher type discussion in the previous couple of sessions back, I had basically mentioned that what are the instances where you will be using these voucher types, right? So in the manual accounting, we discussed that it is generally every transaction when you are capturing in your books of account, we say that it is journalizing, or you capture in as form of a journal every type of transaction. But the moment you come to tally is segregating your each nature of transaction into a different voucher type, right? And I had mentioned that then if there are separate voucher type for each one of them, then what is the need for journal voucher? So I had explained that journal voucher you use for two two type of transaction. Number one is basically journal entry is used for adjustment transaction. In case of any wrong entries that have been captured as a primary transaction, and normally, I mean, like you would not delete and you will not remove that, but you will have to do a necessary correction entry or the correction transaction, or you need to do a proper adjustment. Now, that is where the journal entry is going to help you. In the compound accounting, in the next session, basically, I'm going to show you how you're going to use journal for the adjustment entry. So that is one nature of transaction that you are going to capture in journal entry. The other type of transaction that you're going to capture in your journal entry are all non cash or non-bank payment purchases which are not part of your primary purchase. So when I say primary purchase, which is basically related to your trading or manufacturing, right? So anything that you are going to capture in purchase should be those items that you are going to use for your manufacturing activity as a raw material, or those item as a trader you are going to buy to trade them, to sell them. So that is what you're going to capture under purchase. And all other purchases, like for example, we saw, if you take this example of the second example, we purchased stationery of 2000 rupees from Omega Stationeries, and it is very clear that in this transaction I have already issued a check. So we directly went into payment voucher, and then I debited my expenses, credited my bank account. Let's assume that you are now buying this material on credit from Omega Stationery. Now, this is not going to be purchase, and you can't make this as a payment entry because payment is not made. So you can't use payment voucher. So which voucher type you're going to use? I can't use purchase because it is not part of my trading. It is basically for my, my uh, office maintenance purpose, or for my office operation efficiency purpose, I am buying stationery, right? So these kind of transactions where you do a credit transaction for your non-trading or non-manufacturing procurement, you will capture them in journal entry. So that is what we are seeing here. The example I've taken here is that the company is purchasing a laptop for office use, which is basically now they are acquiring an asset, right? So I can't make this as part of a C. I mean, like Tally will allow you. It's not that you can't make this. You can go and enter it in purchase entry also, right? But then I will tell you why you need to stick to this particular thing little later. Then you will understand better. Okay, in a couple of advanced sessions, I will explain to you. So now I'm going to use this journal entry for a credit purchase of asset for the organization. Supposing if I had issued a check, then I can directly go to my payment voucher and then I can capture this. I'm going to debit my asset, which is my laptop, and I'm going to credit my bank account. But here I am buying it on credit because there is no mention of payment here, right? So I'm going to use a journal entry here. So I come to journal entry, and then F7 is my journal. So it is going to ask me debit. So I'm going to debit my laptop, which again, if you see, I have not created the my asset ledger. So I'm going to press Alt C, and then I'm going to say lap, laptop or computers or whatever. You can give the description, whatever it is. And this is going to be my fixed assets. Okay. And I'm going to create here, and then I'm going to say 50,000 is my value of my computer, and I'm going to credit my supplier, which is Dell India Private Limited. So this is going to be my sundry creditors, and then I'm going to press Control A. Okay, so I'm going to say purchase of computer for office use. Okay, this is how you're going to do. Now, these six voucher types in Tally are primary voucher type. All right. So you have passed one transaction for each voucher type. Now, let us say you want to just view all these vouchers that you have created. So how can you view it, right? So one way I told you is that just keep pressing page up, page up, page up, and then you can view it. But the other way, the easiest way, is that when you come to gateway of Tally, you will see now in Tally Prime, the daybook is on the face of gateway of Tally. In Tally.ERP, it is at the second level of the reporting. It is under display, so which is also there. Like for example, if you see here, when I go to display, the daybook is also going to be here, right? Which is where, in Tally.ERP you will see this. You will go to display, and then you will go to daybook. But since daybook is again a very very important report, which is going to give you the information of all those entries that you have passed in your organization for that particular given day. Right now, it is by default, it is going to give you as on the current date. What is current date? As on the date of your last voucher entry. So that's basically your current date. And using daybook, when we get into the reporting part, we will see what all magics that we can do in the daybook. So currently I just want to see those six entries that I've passed, right? So what I'm going to do, the daybook is already there. My keyboard shortcut, the hotkey is K. I can press K here, and you will see here all this voucher type, the six entries that I've made is getting reflected here. And why, how come all the transactions are coming here is basically because I have not changed the date. So in fact, there are different dates here, but then, I mean, like when I demonstrated, I showed you that all these entries I made it on a single date, which is 10th of May. So that is why it is reflecting everything. Otherwise, normally when you pass your transaction based on the date that is given here, right? So you will see when you go to the daybook, you will see the last day, which is 24/20/21 is going to be the last day. If you want to see from the beginning, what are you going to do? Very simple. You come here, and then you come to date here, and then there is this left pointing arrow, which I told you that there are other hidden action keys here. So period is F2, single underline, that is Alt F2. Either I click here, I press Alt F2, and very simple. Just press blank space bar, blank it out, space bar, blank it out, and Tally is going to give you a list of all the vouchers from the first day of the voucher till the last date of the voucher. You don't even have to enter the date. So like I mentioned, in my case, everything was on 10th of April, but you will see the range here. You will see from 1st of April to 10th of May, right? So in the next session, in the same theme of accounting entries, quickly I will show you that what is the interface that you have in Tally.ERP, and also we will discuss about the compound accounting entries that Tally supports for you to pass the transaction instead of passing the entry through multiple vouchers, because I mean, like, every transaction is related to that particular instance, which Tally allows you to do a compound accounting entries also, right? So thank you all very much for staying till the end. See you all in the next session in the advanced account entry, which is the compound entry. Thank you very much.